Hi there, and welcome to The Celeb Tea, the end of a chaotic podcast journey. The podcast that once held the attention of millions of fans every week has officially come to an end. Tana and Brooke, the duo behind the show, uploaded their final episode, a marathon recording that ran well over 3 hours. The lengthy farewell was filled with personal revelations, reflections on their time together, and a surprising level of raw honesty. In those hours, the pair laid everything on the table. How the podcast had strained their friendship, the drama they wish they could undo, the conflicts they still stand by, and where their lives are heading next. For loyal listeners, the end came as both expected and shocking. Expected because whispers of tension had been swirling for months. Shocking, because the show was still pulling massive numbers, gaining millions of views per week, and likely bringing in a comfortable income through sponsorships. Why would anyone walk away from such an easy and lucrative setup, one that required little more than a weekly chat from the comfort of a living room? Clearly, the situation was far more complicated than outsiders could see. Breaking routine and raising questions. Normally, Tana and Brooke had been fairly consistent with their release schedule. Aside from the occasional skipped week, their fans could rely on them to upload at least once a week. That's why alarm bells went off when they broke that rhythm, vanishing for nearly a month before releasing their final episode. In the world of online creators, silence is often louder than words, and this unexplained absence fueled heavy speculation. The suspense ended only after Brooke left a comment on Spill Sesh's TikTok account, letting everyone know that the episode would drop that very day. She wasn't bluffing. The episode finally appeared online, and it turned out to be their longest ever. Over 3.5 hours of unfiltered conversation was a lot for fans to process, and it was clear from the start that this wasn't going to be an ordinary episode. But before diving into the content of the farewell, there's another layer of drama that unfolded behind the scenes, and it's centered around Brooke's engagement party. The engagement party that sparked speculation. Over the weekend leading up to the final episode, Brooke celebrated her engagement with a big party. When pictures surfaced online, some fans initially mistook it for the actual wedding because of the scale and vibe of the event. But it was indeed just the engagement party, a prelude to the big day. While the event looked glamorous, attentive fans quickly noticed that someone important was missing, Tana. Her absence didn't go unnoticed, especially since she was simultaneously posting Instagram stories from Hawaii, proving she was nowhere near the celebration. Another person missing from the event was BBE, one of Brooke's closest friends, which only added fuel to the fire. BB and Brooke had been inseparable for years, and when she didn't show, many assumed there must have been some kind of falling out. Fans had seen them together at Tana's launch party not long before, so the sudden absence stirred rumors that the reconciliation hadn't lasted. And then, with both Tana and BB absent from such a significant milestone in Brooke's life, speculation exploded. Fans react to Tana's absence. Theories spread quickly across social media. Many fans couldn't wrap their heads around why Brooke and Tana would seemingly drift apart right as their podcast was ending. Was there more tension behind the scenes than anyone realized? For longtime supporters, it didn't add up. Why would two women walk away from a project that was still so successful and clearly profitable? Of course, fans had their guesses. Some argued that the constant pressure to talk about their personal lives had worn them down. Others pointed to the negativity on platforms like Reddit, where hate threads dissected their every move. The drama surrounding the podcast had become a storm they couldn't escape. Still, supporters insisted they didn't need to spill every detail of their private lives. People just wanted to hear them talk about their friendship and everyday experiences. But at the end of the day, the decision had already been made. The podcast was over. And from everything that has come out, it seems Tana was the one who pushed for it more strongly than Brooke. Different paths, different futures. Brooke had been hesitant to pull the plug, but Tana appeared ready to move on. She already had another podcast with Trisha Paytas, who, after years of public controversy, was experiencing a major redemption arc. Tana seemed eager to align herself with that energy and ride the wave of positivity. The two were even discussing going on tour, envisioning something bigger than just podcasting, a kind of variety show that could mix comedy, storytelling, music, and entertainment into one event. Brooke, however, wasn't part of these new plans. For her, the transition seemed less exciting, especially as she continued to deal with her own share of online hate. This contrast in direction, Tana looking toward ambitious new projects, Brooke trying to steady herself against criticism, made it clear they were moving in very different directions. So when fans noticed that Tana skipped the engagement party, many took it as confirmation that their friendship wasn't as strong as they had believed. Tana speaks out. The rumors didn't take long to reach Tana herself. Spillsesh made a TikTok about the speculation, and Tana commented directly to explain her side. According to her, the reason she couldn't attend was entirely logistical. She had recently bought a house in Hawaii and said the construction timeline had shifted out of her control. She insisted she did everything she could to change it, pleading, begging, even crying over the situation. But ultimately, she couldn't get away. Tana admitted she knew how the internet would interpret her absence, but she refused to fuel the negativity. She stressed that she was genuinely happy for Brooke and promised to make it up to her. Still, not everyone believed her explanation. Some fans were skeptical, questioning how renovations could physically prevent her from attending. "Are you holding the hammer yourself?" one commenter joked. Another pointed out that if their best friend were getting engaged, nothing short of an emergency would keep them away. Regardless of the doubts, Tana did try to show support online. She posted on her Instagram story as if she had been there, sharing heartfelt words about Brooke and Miles. Posting like, "I was there," she wrote, "genuinely so moved. I love you guys for real." She even uploaded a photo of the couple at their engagement party. Brooke replied with a simple "ha-ha," which some interpreted as shady. Later, though, Brooke clarified on TikTok that she completely understood why Tana couldn't make it. In her words, Tana had a fair and reasonable reason for missing the event, and despite the speculation, she insisted she had the best night of her life. Final reflections and moving forward. When the long-awaited farewell episode finally dropped, it was nothing short of emotional chaos. Over the course of 3.5 hours, Tana and Brooke openly confronted the highs and lows of their podcasting journey. They laughed, they vented, and at times they even seemed relieved to finally let it all out. One of the strongest themes was regret, or in some cases, the lack of it. The pair admitted that the podcast had placed a strain on their relationship, especially when drama bled into their personal lives. Brooke confessed that being under constant public scrutiny was exhausting, while Tana acknowledged that her impulsive nature often sparked conflicts she later wished she'd handled differently. Still, they both agreed that the show had been an unforgettable chapter, one that gave them incredible opportunities and connected them to fans in ways they never expected. But the episode wasn't just about looking back. It was about what comes next. Tana made it clear that she's aiming higher, focusing on her project with Trisha Paytas and the possibility of a live variety show tour. Brooke, on the other hand, expressed a desire to slow down, prioritize her personal life, and protect her mental health from the relentless negativity that often comes with being online. The contrast was striking, but honest. Two women who had started a podcast together, now moving in opposite directions. While fans may mourn the end of their weekly conversations, both Tana and Brooke emphasized that this wasn't the end of their friendship, even if it may look different moving forward. In the end, the podcast closed not with a neatly tied bow, but with all the messy humanity that defined it from the start. And maybe, for fans, that raw authenticity was the perfect goodbye.